The academy's nightlights flickered like fading stars. Long after curfew, two shadows moved quietly through the marble corridors. One tall and human, one slender and alien. Eli glanced over his shoulder as the security drones hovered past the hallway. His heart pounded, but he smiled anyway. "Are you sure this place is safe?" he whispered. Velra's golden eyes gleamed in the dark. "Safe, no," she said, her tone half serious, half teasing. "But you wanted to see the truth about my people, didn't you, human cadet?" Eli grinned nervously. "I just wanted to know what's behind all those locked doors," she smirked. Curiosity is a dangerous thing for humans. The two stopped before a massive steel door carved with old alien runes. The symbols glowed faintly as Velra placed her palm against the surface. Her biosignature activated an ancient mechanism. Gears groaned, dust fell, and the door opened with a low, haunting hum. Inside was a huge chamber filled with relics, armor pieces, glowing crystals, broken banners of wars long forgotten. The air smelled of metal and time itself. The walls shimmered with alien glyphs that told stories of a race that once ruled the stars. "This is the Hall of Ancestry," Velra whispered, stepping inside with reverence. "My people stopped coming here generations ago. It is said that only the true blood of the ancients may walk these halls without being judged." Eli looked around, wide-eyed. The place felt alive, not just old but waiting. "So, you're not supposed to be here either?" Velra's lips curved slightly. "Rules are for soldiers, not for explorers." In the center of the hall stood a pedestal. Upon it rested a full suit of armor, black as obsidian, glowing faintly with blue light under the surface. Its shape was elegant yet terrifying, built for a warrior of legends. Eli couldn't look away. "That thing looks like it's breathing." "It's said to contain the spirit of the first guardian," Velra said, walking around it. "No one could ever activate it, not even our strongest commanders." Then, with a playful tone, she turned toward him.
"Hey, human, want to try it on?"
Eli blinked. "What? That's sacred, right? I shouldn't even touch it." "Oh, relax," she said with a grin. "It's just a pile of old metal. Besides, it might be funny to see you try." He hesitated. "You're serious?" Velra crossed her arms. "Unless you're afraid of a little alien armor." That word, afraid, made Eli step forward. "All right, fine," he said. He reached out slowly, feeling the cold air around the armor hum against his skin. The metal seemed to pulse with light as his fingers brushed the chest plate. Then everything changed. The runes on the walls flared to life, burning bright blue. The floor vibrated beneath their feet. Eli tried to step back, but the armor suddenly unfolded. Like a living creature, pieces detached from the pedestal and latched onto him with metallic speed. "Velra, what's happening?" he shouted. I don't know," she cried, backing away. "It's never done that before." The armor covered his arms, his chest, his legs, each piece locking into place with a sharp click. Light spread through the cracks, and a deep mechanical voice filled the air. "Genetic key recognized. Human DNA compatible." The echo was so loud it shook the entire hall. The armor's eyes flared white. Eli gasped as power surged through his veins like lightning crawling under his skin. "Velra, I can hear something in my head," he whispered. A voice. The chamber lights exploded into blinding light. The relics on the walls shattered. Outside the vault, alarms began to scream across the academy. Velra stared in disbelief. The armor's glow reflected in her wide eyes as she whispered, "That armor was asleep for 10,000 years." Eli looked at his hands, now encased in black, glowing steel. "And now it's awake." Outside, soldiers began to rush toward the hall. The sound of boots and sirens filled the air. The forgotten hall, silent for centuries, had finally chosen a new guardian, and he wasn't one of them. Smoke and dust filled the forgotten hall. The air pulsed with strange energy, making every light flicker and bend. Eli fell to one knee, his breath coming fast, his heartbeat echoing inside the armor like thunder in a cave. "Eli," Velra shouted, running toward him. The ground still trembled under their feet. "Can you hear me?" He looked up. His eyes glowed faint blue through the helmet. "I can hear everything, Velra. Even your heartbeat," she froze. "That's not possible." Eli stood slowly. The armor moved like liquid, following his every breath, his every thought. For a second he felt unstoppable, weightless. But then a deep voice spoke in his mind. "Host detected. Stabilization required. Neural link incomplete," he stumbled. "There's a voice inside me." It's saying things I don't understand. Valra's eyes widened. You're linked. The armor's alive. Before he could answer, the door to the hall burst open. 5 armed alien guards stormed in, their weapons glowing green. Drop the relic, one of them shouted. By order of the High Command, surrender at once. Eli raised his hands. Wait, I don't even know what's happening. One guard fired. The plasma bolt hit Eli's chest, then curved away, deflecting harmlessly into the ceiling. Everyone froze. Valra gasped. It protected you. The guards fired again, a storm of light. The armor shimmered, forming a glowing shield that rippled like water. The shots vanished in a flash of blue sparks. Eli felt no pain, only power. Threat detected, the voice in his head said calmly, activating defense mode. Before Eli could react, his hand moved on its own. A wave of energy burst from his palm, throwing the guards back like rag dolls. Their weapons shattered on the stone floor. The hall fell silent except for the crackle of electricity. Eli stared at his hands, shaking. I didn't mean to. I didn't do anything. Valra took a step back, her voice trembling. You just used energy only the ancients could control. The armor's inner light dimmed slightly. Eli felt his strength draining as fast as it had come. He fell to his knees, clutching his head. Neural link unstable. Host untrained. Warning, overload imminent. What do I do? Eli whispered. Find the resonance core. Reconnect or perish. Resonance core? He repeated. Valra knelt beside him. Eli, listen to me. You can't stay here. The whole academy will be here in minutes. You have to move. He looked up, dizzy. I can't take this thing off. The armor clung to him like a second skin. When he tried to pull off the helmet, it sealed tighter. Disengagement denied. Vital synchronization incomplete. Valra grabbed his arm. Then we run. They dashed through the shattered corridors. Red alarms flashed on every wall and drones began to swarm through the air. The Academy's announcement echoed, containment breach detected in Hall of Ancestry. All units respond immediately. As they ran, Eli's vision shifted. He could see energy trails, motion before it happened, pathways glowing on the floor. Valra, I can see the exit, this way. How? She shouted, barely keeping up. I don't know. It's like the armor's showing me. They reached the courtyard. Searchlights from gunships swept across the sky. Dozens of soldiers surrounded the area. Valra clenched her teeth. They'll shoot on sight. Eli's voice was calm now, almost too calm. Not if I make them blind. The armor pulsed again, humming with strange rhythm. Blue light exploded outward, a shockwave of blinding energy that short-circuited every drone and weapon nearby. Soldiers fell to the ground, shields dying, alarms shorting out. The two of them ran into the night under the twin moons of her world. Behind them, the academy burned with blue fire. Valra turned to him as they reached the dark hills beyond the city. Eli, what are you now? He looked at his hands, the armor slowly dimming around him. His voice was quiet. I just woke up something that was never supposed to wake again. Above them, the stars seemed to flicker, like something in the heavens had noticed. The desert stretched endlessly before them. 2 moons hung low in the alien sky, painting the dunes in silver light. Eli and Valra moved through the wasteland, their shadows long and tired. The Academy's lights were far behind them now, burning faintly like a dying memory. Eli walked slowly, the armor's black metal dull under the starlight. I can still hear it, he said quietly. The voice. It's whispering things I don't understand. Valra glanced at him, worry in her golden eyes. Maybe it's a defense program. A machine language your brain can't process. Eli shook his head. No, it's not just a machine, it feels alive. They reached a cluster of broken stone pillars, ruins from an age before her people learned to fly. There they rested. The night was cold, the silence deep. Only the faint hum of the armor broke the stillness. Then the voice spoke again, clear this time. Designation human, identification compatible. Initiating partial link, Eli's head jerked up. Valra, it's talking again. Do not fear, the voice continued, deep and calm like the sound of the sea. I am Archaean, the memory of the first guardian. You have awakened me after 10,000 rotations. Eli blinked. Who are you? Why me? Because your blood carries what theirs lost. The spark. The will to resist extinction. Valra stepped closer, frowning. It's speaking through you? Eli nodded. Yes. It's calling itself Archaean. Valra's face went pale. That name, It's from our oldest legends. The guardian who fought the Starfall War, but he wasn't real. Just a story parents tell to make children brave. Eli looked down at his hands, the armor pulsing softly. Then maybe stories were memories all along. The AI's voice deepened, almost sorrowful. Once your species and hers were one. Two branches divided by fear and pride. The armor was meant to reunite them. But war came first, Eli's heart pounded. Humans and aliens. One species. You are cousins of the same flame, the voice said. They forgot. You forgot. But I remember. Valra stared at the armor in disbelief. That can't be true. Our DNA is nothing like yours. The armor glowed, and a projection flickered in the air. Images of tall warriors. Some human, some alien. Standing side by side beneath a single banner. Once, Archaean said, you shared the same stars. The same war. The same home. Eli's voice was quiet. Then what happened to you? Betrayal, fear, the great division. I was sealed to sleep until the day one from both lineages would awaken me again. Valra whispered, a human and an alien. Together. She looked at Eli. That's us. Before they could speak more, a red flare streaked across the sky, a signal drone. Valra's eyes widened. They found us. Eli turned toward the distant hills. He could feel the armor tightening around him, sensing danger. Incoming pursuit units. Flight recommended, the AI warned. How do we run? Eli asked. Follow the resonance. I will guide you. The armor's eye slots flared bright blue and a glowing trail appeared on the sand. A path only he could see. Come on, he shouted. They ran, the wind whipping against their faces. Gunships appeared on the horizon, searchlights cutting across the dunes. Plasma fire rained down, exploding in bright bursts of sand. Eli lifted his arm on instinct. A curved energy shield appeared, protecting them both. He felt Archaeon guiding his every move. You are learning, human. The armor remembers your ancestors. They dived behind a ridge as a gunship exploded above them, the blast reflecting in Valra's terrified eyes. When the dust settled, she turned to him, breathing hard. You could have let me die back there. Why save me? Eli smiled faintly. Because maybe. That's what this armor was waiting for. Not a warrior. A protector. The AI's voice hummed softly, almost approving. Perhaps the human heart is still the strongest weapon. Far above, alien satellites shifted their orbit, tracking their heat signatures. The hunt had truly begun, but for the first time Eli didn't feel afraid. He felt chosen. The dawn light spilled across the dunes, painting the sand red and gold. Eli and Valra ran for hours, their feet sinking deep into the soft ground. Behind them, engines roared, alien gunships sweeping low over the horizon. Keep going, Valra shouted, her voice ragged. There's an old city ahead, the ruins of Avaris. We can lose them there. Eli nodded, his armor dimming to match the sand's color, blending like a living camouflage. Every few minutes the voice of Archaeon whispered inside his head, calm and precise. 3 ships in pursuit. Trajectory west. Recommend cover and concealment within structure density. I hear you. Eli muttered under his breath. Valra gave him a quick glance. You're talking to it again, aren't you? He smiled faintly. You make it sound like it's not listening to us both. Minutes later, the dunes gave way to massive towers of cracked stone and glass. Ancient alien ruins half buried by time. The wind howled through broken corridors. Symbols glowed faintly on the walls, responding to the armor's presence. Valra stopped suddenly, eyes wide. These markings, they're from the First Age. This place shouldn't even exist anymore. The armor pulsed softly. Correction. It was hidden, not lost. Eli looked around. Hidden from who? From those who feared the truth. They moved deeper into the ruins. The architecture was strange. Elegant curves of metal and crystal fused together. As they walked, the walls began to shimmer with holographic projections. Scenes of tall warriors standing shoulder to shoulder. Some looked human, others alien, but their faces carried the same determination. Valra whispered, I can't believe it. Humans were really part of our past. Eli placed his hand against one of the walls. Then that means your people didn't just forget. They erased us. Before she could answer, a loud explosion echoed behind them. Dust and debris rained from above. They found us, Valra shouted. Gunships descended into the ruins, their spotlights cutting through the shadows. Drones swarmed like angry insects, scanning every corner. Eli took a step forward, the armor reacting to his growing determination. Combat potential 47%. Host synchronization rising. Archaon, give me something, Eli said quickly. I need to protect her. Accessing ancient protocols. Activating phase shift field. The armor flared, surrounding them both in a faint blue distortion. The drones scanned the spot where they stood but saw nothing. They passed over without alarm. Velra's eyes widened. We're invisible? For now, Eli said. Let's move before it fades. They slipped through the ruins, climbing fallen pillars and broken bridges. But as they reached the central plaza, the distortion began to flicker. Eli staggered. I can't hold it, the field collapsed. Alarms blared instantly. Run! Velra shouted. They sprinted through the plaza as plasma bolts rained down. Eli turned and raised his arm. The armor formed a glowing barrier, deflecting the blasts. He pushed his energy forward, sending a shockwave that tore through the ruins and toppled a ship. The blast left him gasping, his strength draining fast. Velra grabbed his arm. You'll burn yourself out. He looked up at the cracked sky, better burned out than dead. They dashed into a tunnel beneath the plaza, stumbling into a circular chamber lined with glowing murals. One showed a human and an alien standing together, each wearing half of the same armor, light and dark intertwined. Velra stared at it, speechless. This armor, it wasn't made for one species. It was made for both. Eli traced the mural with his hand. Maybe that's why it chose me. Suddenly the ground shook violently, a missile strike above. The ceiling cracked. Velra fell, separated from him by a wall of debris. Velra, Eli shouted. I'm fine. She coughed. Go! I'll find another way out. The armor's voice thundered in his mind. Separation detected. Host isolated. Enforcers inbound. Eli clenched his fists. The armor glowed brighter, his eyes turning white. Then they'll have to go through me first. Outside, the alien soldiers descended into the ruins, unaware they were about to face something older, stronger and far more human than they imagined. The chase had turned into a war. The ruins burned behind him. Eli stood surrounded by soldiers, his armor cracked and glowing faintly under the twin suns. Dozens of alien rifles aimed at his chest. The sound of the storm wind mixed with the hiss of their weapons charging. He could have fought. He could have run. But Velra was still somewhere beneath the fallen ruins, trapped or worse. So Eli raised his hand slowly. I surrender. The soldiers hesitated. None dared come close. When one finally stepped forward, the armor pulsed. A warning. Compliance acknowledged. The deep voice of Archaon whispered inside Eli's mind. But they will not honor surrender. Eli whispered back, then let them try. The aliens bound his wrists in glowing restraints and dragged him through the sand. Gunships hovered overhead, carrying him toward the Capitol Tower, a vast black structure that pierced the clouds. Hours later, the doors of the Elder Council chamber opened. The air was thick with incense and judgment. 12 alien elders sat in a circle, their long robes shimmering like liquid light. At the center, Eli stood beneath a beam of cold white energy. A guard spoke, his voice sharp. This human trespassed into sacred ground and awakened a forbidden relic. He must be purged before the infection spreads. Eli looked up. Infection? You think I wanted this? One elder leaned forward. Her voice was calm, ancient. The armor you wear was sealed by the first guardians themselves. No one of this age is worthy to bear it. Eli clenched his fists. It didn't agree with you. It chose me. The room filled with murmurs. The elders exchanged glances. Another elder hissed. That relic was bound by blood. Only a descendant of the ancients could activate it, and you are no ancient. Before Eli could speak, Velra's voice cut through the silence. Yes, he is. The doors burst open. She staggered inside, her armor scorched, her eyes blazing with defiance. He didn't steal it. The armor called to him. I saw it with my own eyes. Guards tried to restrain her, but she pushed through, shouting, If the armor awakened, it means the prophecy was real. Enough, an elder roared. That myth is forbidden, Velra pointed at Eli. Then look at him. Tell me that's a lie. The beam around Eli flickered. The restraints glowed hot, then shattered. The armor surged alive, sealing over him once again. The chamber shook as the deep, thunderous voice of Archaon filled the air. Trial of blood initiated. Witness the truth you buried. Pillars of light erupted from the floor. Ancient holograms appeared. Visions of the past. Humans and aliens standing side by side, united as one people under the same stars. He carries the lost bloodline, Archaean continued. The bridge between your world and theirs. The elders shielded their eyes, shouting in panic. Shut it down. Contain it. Energy weapons fired from all sides, but the beams bent away. The armor absorbed the attacks like water into stone. Eli felt the voice grow louder in his mind. Do you wish to see what they did, human? Yes, he said quietly. The vision changed, showing cities burning, fleets of alien ships turning against their human kin, a betrayal that ended the alliance forever. The armor spoke with sorrow. They feared your kind. They feared what you could become, and so they erased you from history. Vylra fell to her knees, trembling. No, our ancestors couldn't have done this. Eli's voice was calm but cold. They did, but we don't have to repeat it. The energy beam around him collapsed entirely. The armor spread its wings of light, shaking the chamber walls. The elders cowered in terror. Archaeon's voice thundered one final decree. Trial complete. Worthy bearer confirmed. The blast of power knocked everyone back. When the light faded, Eli stood in the center. Unbound, the sigils of both species glowing on his chest plate. He turned toward Vylra, his voice quiet but certain. They'll never stop coming now. To them, I'm proof their history was a lie. Vylra rose slowly. Then we make a new history. Above the capital, sirens began to wail. Armies were mobilizing. The first war in 10,000. Years was about to begin, and its spark had a human face. The sky over the capital turned red as fleets rose from their hangars, thousands of ships forming, a storm of metal and fire. The alien empire had declared war. Every channel screamed the same message. Human anomaly detected. Containment impossible. Elimination required. From the high balcony of the shattered council tower, Eli watched the lights of war spread across the horizon. The armor glowed faintly, reflecting the flames below. Vylra stood beside him, her expression cold and broken. They're going to burn everything, she whispered. Even their own cities. Just to erase you, Eli's voice was low. Then they'll erase you too. You helped me. I know, she said softly. That's why I'm staying. The voice of Archaeon echoed inside the armor, calm but urgent. The cycle begins again. Fear leads to war. War leads to extinction. Eli frowned. There has to be a way to stop it. You said the armor wasn't made for war. Correct, Archaeon replied. Its true function is restoration, the uniting of divided lineages. But the key remains incomplete. What key? Eli asked. 2 halves of one soul. Human and firstborn. The bond must be forged or the armor will die. Vylra turned to him. What does it mean? Eli hesitated, looking into her eyes. It means it was never meant to choose just one of us. Before she could reply, a deep rumble shook the ground. Energy pulses streaked across the sky. The first bombardments had begun. The planet's defense fleet opened fire, their lasers carving lines of light through the clouds. Eli gritted his teeth. Archaeon, show me where this ends. The world around him blurred, and suddenly he saw visions, not of the present, but of what was coming. He saw Earth's orbit burning, alien ships falling, billions dying on both sides, and beyond the destruction, silence. When he returned to reality, his voice was trembling. If this keeps going, both our species die. Vylra nodded slowly. Then we stop it. How? She stepped closer, placing her hand over the glowing chest plate. You said the armor needs both halves. Then let it have us. For a moment, Eli said nothing. The wind howled, carrying the smell of ozone and smoke. Then he nodded. Archaeon, do it. Synchronization protocol initializing. The armor's glow spread to Vylra's skin, weaving through her veins like threads of light. She gasped, her eyes turning bright blue to match his. The armor extended between them, half covering her, half covering him. Balance achieved, Archaeon announced. The bridge is restored. A column of light erupted from the tower, visible for miles. Fleets halted mid-air as the shockwave passed through the sky, shutting down weapons and shields alike. From orbit, commanders shouted through static, "What is that energy? It's rewriting our systems." Eli's body trembled as the armor connected their minds. He could feel Valra's heartbeat, her fear, her courage, and she could feel his, the human ache for peace, for belonging. "You see now," Archaon said. The armor was not a weapon. It was a message. A memory of unity, sealed until you remembered what you once were. Below them, soldiers dropped their weapons, stunned by the light. Ships fell silent, their engines failing one by one. Valra looked out over the city. "We did it." "They've stopped," Eli shook his head slowly. "No, they're just afraid. Give them a reason to believe." He raised his voice, the armor amplifying his words across every comm channel, every ship, every world. "This war isn't between species. It's between memory and fear. And I won't let fear win again." For a brief, fragile moment, silence filled the skies. But in the distance, one warship disobeyed. Its commander, blinded by hatred, fired a single massive plasma round toward the city. Eli turned just as the blast neared. "Valra!" The explosion lit up the heavens. When the smoke cleared, only a crater remained where they had stood. And at its center, two figures surrounded by fading light, holding each other as the armor's energy shield flickered and died. "Protocol nearing completion," Archaon whispered weakly. "But the final choice must be made." Eli looked at Valra through the broken helmet glass. "Then we make it together." Above them, the fleet began to turn, the final battle approaching. The first light of dawn touched the smoking horizon. The city was silent now, its towers broken, its skies filled with drifting ash. The once golden world of Valra's people had become a graveyard of metal. Eli stood at the edge of the shattered plaza, the armor cracked and dim, his breath shallow. Each movement hurt like fire. But still, he stood. Beside him, Valra knelt, her hand resting against the ruined stone. Her skin glowed faintly with the last traces of the armor's energy. The bond between them still pulsed. Weak, but alive. Above them, the last enemy fleet descended, black ships blotting out the morning sun. Their weapons charged, humming with deadly light. Eli whispered, "They're not stopping." Valra smiled faintly, blood on her lips. "They've forgotten how." The voice of Archaon echoed softly inside their minds, no longer commanding, but almost human. "Host systems failing. Energy core at 3%. If you fight, you will die. If you surrender, all will die." Eli looked at Valra. "Then there's only one choice left." She nodded. "End it." He took a deep breath, the cold wind biting through the broken armor. "Archaon, is there any way to stop them without killing them?" "There is, but it requires full fusion, mind and spirit. The bridge complete." Valra looked at Eli, her voice trembling but firm. "You mean one of us has to stay behind, don't you?" "No," Archaon said quietly. Both silence. Eli closed his eyes for a moment. The sounds of war, the distant engines, the thunder of ships, when all faded away. He turned to her, a faint smile on his face. "You once said humans are reckless." Valra smiled back weakly. "And you said aliens are too proud to change." "Guess we were both right." He took her hand. Their palms met, human and alien, flesh and light. The armor responded instantly. The broken plates reformed, covering them both in a single, shining shell of blue and silver. Final sequence, peace protocol. Engaging planetary resonance. A beam of light shot from their joined hands into the sky, piercing the clouds. Every ship above them froze in midair. The light spread outward, not as destruction, but as calm. Weapons powered down. Soldiers dropped to their knees. Across the fleet, engines shut off. Systems went quiet. Within seconds, the light reached orbit, surrounding the entire planet in a shimmering halo. Eli felt his body weakening. His vision blurred, but he didn't stop. "Valra, do you see them?" "Yes," she whispered. "They're standing down." Archaon's voice grew softer, fading. "The bond has restored the balance. The first war is finally over." The armor began to crack apart, its light pouring into the sky like rising dawn. Valra looked up at him. "What happens now?" He smiled faintly. "Maybe. They'll remember who we really are." The final pulse of energy burst from their bodies, blinding and beautiful, a light that reached every soldier, every ship, every world watching the war. And then, silence. When the light faded, the plaza was still. The armor was gone, only ashes drifting where they had stood. In the sky, The twin suns rose side by side for the first time in centuries, their light merging into one. From the orbiting command ships, alien generals stared in shock as their systems returned. No explosions, no death, just peace. Far below, at the edge of the crater, a small crystal fragment of the armor pulsed once, soft blue like a heartbeat. Peace protocol. Complete. Archaean's last echo whispered through the wind. And in that fragile morning silence, the world breathed again. For the first time in 10,000 years, there was no war, only memory. And hope. The end. Alien girl let human try on her ancestor's armor as a joke, but it awakened hidden powers, HFY,